I'm back, and this is day number 3 on my 30-day challenge. 30-day challenge to post something about what I'm learning, post something while I'm out here on the road, and doing DoorDash while it's a rainy day over here where I am. I'm in North Carolina and Charlotte area. It's been that storm has been very, very strong, and but we're doing all right, thank goodness. No power outages or anything of that sort in the area where I am. So hope everybody is doing well during this hurricane. And I was listening to one of my other books, and I kind of like do that throughout the day. Because a really interesting thing that happens while I'm doing DoorDash, while I'm driving Lyft, I can alternate between the trips, listening to the book, turn it off when the passenger's in the car. But the difference is that while I'm doing DoorDash, is nobody's ever getting in the car, so I'm listening for hours. I'm listening and powering through books, and sometimes I have to take a pause or kind of like alternate books to give my brain a reprieve. And currently I'm listening to I'm alternating really through 3 books at a time, and the one that I'm mainly going through and revising is Super Communicators. And then I got a new one. I already listened to Super Communicators, but I'm listening to it a second time. It was that good. It was that good, and it's super interesting to me, the contents of that book. But I also purchased Cosmic Queries, which is a book by Neil deGrasse Tyson and another author, and they go through the different aspects of astro physics and how the world was started, and science and physics and a lot of stuff that I do not know, I do not understand, but I find it super interesting. The reason why I find it super interesting is because we live in this world. We live in this world, and it's run by a set of rules. Gravity, light. If you have light, you see some things. You have a spectrum of light. If there's an absence of heat, you get cold. It's not that it's cold. If there's an absence of heat, you get cold, and things like that. Things of that nature, literally. It's super interesting to me. But I wanted to hop on here because while I was listening, he said, Neil said something very interesting, or shall I say deGrasse Tyson. Mr. Tyson said something Dr. Tyson said something very interesting. And he said that if you had 30 bumblebees in the United States, only 30 bumblebees, they would have more of a chance of bumping into each other than we have of bumping into the closest star. And I was like, that's absolutely bonkers. That's bonkers. And then he said, if you don't understand that, and I'll give you another example. He said, the period at the end of the sentence of the book, if that was the size of the sun, the closest star would be 4 miles away. And it got me to thinking. This is what I like about books. This is what I like about words. That we interpret things, and we begin to listen, and we begin to kind of like process in our own ways. And again, like I said in the other videos, this is kind of like a peer video, if you will. You guys are my peers, and I'm sharing the insights that I have found through these books. So I am by no means a expert. I am just kind of like trying to process this thing as well, and trying to communicate with you as I do so. And I want to spend some time with you, you know. So it got me to thinking, like, if that's the case, that period is the size of the sun, and you think about the size of the sun to the size of Earth, how much more smaller we are, right? Then, and the distance of the closest star is 4 miles. It's like, you look at life from that perspective. There's things that are so much more bigger than we are, and we get super stressed on this while we're here, you know. The beautiful thing about being a human being is that we're able to create things, and we're able to do things that just are fantastic, and we have that creativity inside of us. Oh, I've arrived at my destination. I'll be right back. All right, we're back. So yeah, that's the creativity is what I really enjoy. And I need to figure out what this angle is. Let me know in the comments. What do you guys think about this angle? It's just like a little cup holder kind of thing. I haven't gotten too creative with my setup here in the car. But when I say that the creativity that we have allows us to kind of like really step it up and build these wonderful systems, and sometimes scary bad systems, and systems that help some and don't help others, and all of this stuff. All in all, it requires creativity. But when you think about how big the world is, and the universe and the different galaxies are, it kind of like stretches you, and it makes you really it makes you slow down. It makes you slow down and kind of like refocus. So that's why I like listening to things outside of the sphere of what I am trying to develop professionally. It's wild. I just wanted to share that, you know. I wanted to share that idea with you guys, because we get, like, if you're like me, just to be very honest, like, you get stressed out with the things that we have to do, or stressed out with the times that we're forced to pause, or times that you just feel like you should be doing something else. But when you kind of like just zoom out, step away, you know what I mean? You begin to see what, you know, that there's so much more out there than just what we're doing, than our careers, than, you know, our vacations, than getting that cup of coffee in the morning, which is very nice. It's very nice, all in all. There's something bigger. So I just wanted to hop on here and say that, share that idea, share that little nugget of an idea, and let me think about that a little bit more. Let me just think about that a little bit more, because I feel like there's something else in there that I want to share. And in the meantime, you guys think about that. The sun, if the sun were a period in the sentence, the nearest star would be 4 miles away. Think about that. I'll be right back. I'm back. So leave a comment. Letting me know what you think, what you came up with. As I sat on that idea, I was thinking about how we, you know what, just to get a little bit more deeper, kind of like digging a little bit more, is that how we live in a world where we glorify being this big thing, you could do it, everything. And I feel like there's definitely, we need more encouragement and motivation, and just kind of like building up each other. And for sure, we want that. We want the best, and we give the awards, and we choose the winners. We choose the winners. It's there's a time and place for all of that, and I think that life is a spectrum, really. It's so many different things. And what I want to say about that is that that's good and well, and at the same time, we're like dust, floating through the air, through space, on a big rock. Yeah, I think that's also beautiful. I think it's also beautiful. Just like, look at a wildflower that grows in a field, and nobody tends to it. We don't even know how it got there, but there's a system in place. The bees cross-pollinate and they do their thing. And then it ends up in the unlikeliest of places, and it grows, and it's beautiful, and it has so many different colors. Did you know that when flowers, I remember learning this from somebody. He was a very nice guy. I picked him up from the airport. He was telling me about his flowers from his garden, and they were the same flowers. The flowers that were in the front of his house were the same color, the same, I guess, species of flower that were on the side of his house. But the ones on the side of his house grew a different color. He was telling me, like, yeah, they're the same flower, but they grew a different color. And that kind of, he said that he didn't know why, so he had to kind of like find out. He really wanted to know why it grew a different color, and he found out. He said that the reason why it grew a different color, had a different color when it grew in, was because it was on the side of the house, and the side of the house doesn't get as much sun. So when it was growing and it was developing, the colors that was absorbed into, I guess, the soil or the plant as it grew, were not the same as the full spectrum of color that was grown in the front. I thought that was fascinating, because that happens to even us. As we grow up, we could be of the same species, but we have different experiences, and we have a different outlook on life, even though we are the same. I think that's a whole different conversation. That's why we have wars. And jeez, I didn't expect this to get so deep. I was trying to keep it light. But all that is to say is that, let's just reel it back in, Joel. All of that is to say that there's a beauty in being temporary here on earth, and the beautiful things that we learn along the way, the beautiful people that we meet on the way. Yes, there's ugly stuff. Yes, there's very horrible things. And I'm sure that at this very moment, there are terrible things going on in the world. And that will always be the dilemma, that will always be the paradox that we live in. There's good and bad all at the same time. So this what's the point? I don't know. Remember that movie Matrix, when Neo asks the old man in the in the other world in Zion. He was like, so what's your point? I was like, point? There's no point. I've been here too long to care for points anymore. So that's kind of like that. No, but the point is, that there's beauty in being on a speck of dust. You know, there's a beauty of being here right now, present. And when you look up at the stars and you see how many there are out there, I'm sorry if you live in the city, you know, but if you ever get out of the city and drive far away from city lights, you'll see these stars. Okay, story time. So, all right, I have two stories that come to my mind. I'll tell you the most interesting one. So, there was this time that I was doing Uber, and little by little, I was just kind of like letting the trip ride out and see where it was gonna take me. Wherever it took me, I'm there. I was trusting the system. So little by little, I get this trip. It's like 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, 20 minutes, 6 minutes, and before I knew it, I end up in this town called York. York is, is in South Carolina, and the trip out there, I already didn't know where I was. I'm like, this does not look like any place that I know. and then that passenger then said, well, I got one more trip, but it's gonna be 15 minutes. We're going into Hickory Grove. And I'm thinking Hickory Grove, which is a neighborhood in Charlotte. I'm like, oh, I know Hickory Grove. I did not know Hickory Grove. Hickory Grove is a town. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm driving, and I immediately learned that we're going way further out, because as I'm driving, I'm looking at my GPS and the screen goes blank. So I lose cellular signal, and we're still driving. Alright, so I'm like, man, we're pretty far out there, and it's already, 11 o'clock at night, 11:30 something, 11:40. And then sure enough, we're driving, and then I get to this intersection, and I get 2 bars, and the screen pops up, and I'm like, yes, okay, all right, we're good, we're back in business, right? And then I drop off the passenger, like right around the corner, and I lose signal again. I was like, oh, okay, oh, right, nice meeting you, bye. And then I do a U-turn, and I drive right back up to the intersection where I got the signal. And sure enough, I get up there. I want to say it's 11:56 in the evening. It's almost 12 o'clock in midnight, and I'm not finding my cell phone signal. I'm stepping outside of the car, holding my phone in the air like it's an old Verizon commercial, that you look up the commercial that says, "Can you hear me now?" It's walking around with the antenna up. That's how old I am. And I get 2 bars, mind you. Right around me, I could hear the dog, like it was farmland, and I could hear the dogs barking, at 11:50 something. At night, and I was like, woo, 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 woo. I'm talking about all the dogs in the neighborhood, different houses. So, as a black man, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing out here in the middle of the country, and I was just like, okay, I get 2 bars. Then I was like, all right, let's get out of here. And I put my GPS, I put my address in, and I started driving back, right? After, all that, and that's my Hickory Grove story right there. As I'm driving back, there's a point to all of this. As I'm driving back, I realize like I'm outside of the city, and I just look up, and I'm like, I see so many stars out. There's so many, I guess, countless stars. It was such a clear night, and it was such a beautiful night that I would have missed it if I was like just in a hurry to leave. But I stopped the car again, and I was like, all right, I got my GPS. Nobody's around. No dark. It was a remote place, and I just stopped in the middle of the road. No cars were coming. Pitch black, and I just stayed there. I looked up, and I kind of like I said a prayer, it's because it's so beautiful to be able to kind of like see that and realize that we're so small, guys. We have YouTube channels that literally give us our own, essentially it gives us our own TV channel where you can log on, you could turn on that subscription, and you could follow along with millions of different stories. By the way, thank you for listening. So but when you look up, you find yourself in a place where you see the sky like that, you realize how small we really are. And I always say that's my Hickory Grove story. And the good thing that I was able to extract from that is like, I grew up in the city. I grew up in New York City, and we didn't see stars at all. I'm talking about maybe two or three or four, and maybe an airplane snuck in there. But once you get out, if you get a chance to go out into the country and you just look up on a clear night, it's beautiful, marvelous, and you realize how small we are, it puts things into perspective, and it's kind of like a breath of fresh air. Let go of that pressure. If you gotta send the email and relax. Let them reply. If you want to make whatever move you have to do, make the move. Start the company. Make that call. Have that conversation. Get that cup of coffee. Because you never know where it's gonna lead. And guess what? In 20 years from now, this was Eric McManus, who said, you have to ask yourself, in 20 years from now, is it going to matter or is it not going to matter? If it matters, then fantastic. Make the right decision. If it's not going to matter in 20 years, then don't give it so much pressure. Don't leave so much pressure on yourself. Don't put so much pressure on yourself. All right? With that, I'll leave you guys. This has been the third day. Thank you so much for listening. And yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. Let's see what else I could talk about. Let's see. Please leave a comment. I want to hear from you guys. Another cool thing that a video that I saw online was Mr. Beast. He said kind of like hacked his own system, right? I'm a big believer in kind of like figuring out what works effectively. And by no means have I done that. But he said, post your first 100 videos. Nobody's gonna watch it. But, other than friends and family. But you post it and you learn some stuff. And that's part of the goal of this thing. That's part of the goal of this thing. So it might be very cringy. I'm sorry. I messed up the whole video. No, I didn't. I'm good. But thank you for listening. If you watch this in the future, this is 2024, and I don't know what else. Look back. You can look back to see what was going on. It was raining today, and this is it. This is it. All right, so you guys have a wonderful day. I'll see you tomorrow. Like, subscribe, and share. I don't know if you want to do that yet, but at least subscribe. Don't share this. All right. All right. Thank you for taking the time to listen. Okay. Bye. Love ya. Toodles. Ta-ta. Au revoir. Adios. Y nos vemos. Bye.